Hi, Jared here from Bonsai Echo. So I'm going to be working today on this ficus that I picked up from the big box store. It has sort of a repetitive motion in this trunk here, and to me it's not quite what I'm looking for in a bonsai. First thing I'm going to do is clean it up. So I don't need the concrete rock that says goodness. I'm not going to need all of this glued on aquarium gravel here. I'm also not going to use this green dyed green moss that comes with it. I have my own moss that I pick up off the ground around here, and that's a lot prettier moss. What I'm going to be doing with this is I'm actually going to be taking it out of the pot, and I'm going to be repotting it in kind of a creative way. So this might be a little extreme because I'm going to be using wire and bending it quite significantly. If you're ready for that, have at it. Be brave. This is a cheap plant, and if it was a gift, well, hey, you started learning bonsai with it. So this one has maybe like a Sharpie marker sized trunk, and I believe that that can still be bent. Yeah, that should still be able to be bent with some force. I'm going to be pulling, I think I'm going to be pulling from this top section down to the roots. I'm going to pull that all together, compact this down into here, create some interesting twists and turns. So right now it's really two-dimensional. From this angle, you can't really see much of the twists and turns. From this angle, that's kind of all you see is the lazy S. So I'm going to be taking this out of the pot. Probably. There we go, it's out of the pot. This was a cutting not too long ago. Not my cutting, but the grower probably grew this as a cutting within the last couple of years. What they do is they'll take a cutting from a ficus, let it grow really strong, and it'll grow tall out of this top. Then at some point they'll chop it back, and meantime they'll train some of the branches down. So just with my hands, I'm kind of gently teasing out the roots a little bit. What I'm looking for down in here is a really strong attachment point to attach this top section with a guy wire to the bottom section, and I'm going to pull that together. There's a lot of length in here that can compress quite a bit with that technique. So I'm avoiding ripping any roots off if I can, unless they're dead, like this one. These upper roots I'm going to keep. This one's just kind of growing the wrong way, so I can pull that down. All right. It does have a really strong section right here. This is a meaty base that I can attach to. So I'm going to put a strong attachment point right here, and then I'm going to get the guy wire going. At the same time, I'm going to go ahead and defoliate all of this. Defoliating will allow it to handle this work a lot better. You've probably seen in a lot of videos that people who work on tropical trees will often defoliate them before they repot or before they start to wire. That allows you to get into the structure of the tree, and it's less transpiration of the moisture through these leaves. These leaves from ficus do have a lot of latex, a lot of sap in them, so if you have a latex allergy, I really recommend gloves for this de-leafing or defoliating activity. Okay, so that's mostly de-leafed. Kind of a spray of foliage out of the top. So what I'm going to do is, in this thick part here at the base, I'm going to wrap a cushioned wire around here with a loop, and on the loop I'm going to be able to attach the other guy wire to it. So the cushion wire is airline tubing for an aquarium, which you can find at any old pet store. So there's a loop for me. Okay, I left a little wiggle room down here at the bottom, and this is going to be hopefully good while it expands. This may cause a little bit of tourniquet effect down here, but I'm going to just deal with it for now because I think this will set into place with a strong season of quick growth up here. I expect to be able to cut this off before I take it into the house. So the next spot I'm going to do is I'm going to get this Y here, which I know is a very strong attachment point. And I'm going to take my guy wire from there to here. And I think I'm going to attempt to bend it this way, compressing down that way. So if you see my other video where I did the guy wire technique, this is a similar sort of thing, but without screwing into the trunk. The reason why I'm not screwing into the trunk on this one is because it's just not very meaty. I'm not sure that this will hold with that amount of force, but I know that this thick root area will hold. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and twist from the bottom and hopefully push down from the top without doing too much damage to these fine twigs up here. Looks something like this. I'm monitoring this as I go to see if I'm developing any sort of cracking sounds or anything like that. So I've already compressed it quite a bit, and also you notice as I turn it, it's much more three-dimensional. It's hard to find an angle at this point that is very flat looking. And because I'm bending from so high up on this, I'm actually bending the trunk along the entire length of it instead of just one position. So it's able to handle the load quite a bit better. Now that is quite twisty-turny, wouldn't you say? And I'm pretty happy with that. That's kind of a really cool look to me. I got several ways that I can display this. So I'm going to call that good for the twisting of this. Clean up this wire here. So I'm trying to work pretty quickly because it's getting a little bit hot in here. I don't want to dry out the roots too much. I'm actually not going to really cut off many roots. That's it. That's all I'm going to cut off. And that's just because I don't want to mess with those when I'm trying to put it in the pot. Okay, I'm going to add wire to most of these branches. But first I'm going to actually grab my water hose and I'm going to give this one a little soak. Okay, that could last a little longer here in the heat now. Alright, so I'm going to add some wire to all these branches and get them ready to be bendable. Use relatively thin wire on most of these branches, but I'll start with a couple of thick ones that need something a little bigger. Just a couple more branches here to wire, and then wiring work, applying the wire at least, will be done. And then I'll get to do the fun part where I get to style it. That is one of the most fun things about bonsai work. Alright, I think that's enough wire to do what I need to do with this plant. It's not styled at all right now, but it is prepared for it. My next step is going to be a little interesting. And if you have seen my work before, one of my favorite things to do is about to happen again. I'm going to break a pot, this one right here. I couldn't get the sticker off, but I have a good tool for me to get that sticker off. A hammer. Let's see what happens when I hit this from the inside of the pot out. I'm going to aim the other side of that from that spot there and see what happens. Oh, it broke. But I really like the way it broke. It has a little chip there. I'm just going to soften that up. That feels all right. So now I have a very happy face pot, to be honest with you. It looks pretty nice to me. This tree, I'm gonna see if I can get into this pot in a way that kind of echoes that shape if I can. And look at this. I have this little grin that goes up and comes back, and I have the same thing echoed on the tree. I think I'm gonna go something like that. Almost looks like a tongue coming out. I could go here, but I'd like it to be a little bit further out on the pot. So I'm going to go out about to there. I'm going to continue on with that. So to make that work, I have a one-hole pot, and I need to get some anchor wire into that. To make that work, I'm going to make a wire peg to go there. I'm using a thicker piece of wire. This is something like a 5mm wire. And the way I do that is I bend it roughly in half to make a staple. And then at each end of the staple, I'm bending it back out. So you get something like this little wave. And take a short little piece of wire that I'm going to use to anchor it. I'll twist that on here at the top of that. And then I'm going to close up that little wave there. There we go. That's locked in there pretty good, and that's going to be able to go through this bottom drain hole and sit just above the level of these feet that are still here. These are going to get cushioned because they're going to go around a portion of this trunk here, I'm pretty sure. Maybe. I'll probably be able to attach to that. Let's take a look here. Slide this piece of cushioning material over there. Lock it down. I'm trying to stay over that thick piece of trunk, same piece that was thick enough to attach the guy wire to. And it's kind of wobbly right now, but that's okay because I want to actually place this into a good spot here. And it's going to go something like that. Okay, I got that one pretty much where I want it. I'm not paying too much attention to the nabari on this because you're about to see how this is going to be a little bit different. Well, you've already seen that it's a broken pot and it's looking a little different. Next thing that's going to happen is I'm going to actually place little sticks in here to keep it in place. So I got just a hunk of bamboo here I'm going to use. And I just push it out from where it was. Notice from this angle there's some root activity doing some weird things here. I'm going to fix that with some of the moss work that I do. So the next thing I'm going to do, because I feel like that's pretty secure in there, it's pretty good, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some soil into this. And in goes some dirt. Now, like most bonsai, I use a regular bonsai soil mix. This is a very good draining mix. It's going to drain really well because it's got large open air spaces in it. It's got a lot of cinder sort of material, so it will absorb some water and have it be available for the roots, but it's not going to be sitting in water. Okay, now what I need to do is I'm going to build up a little bit of a moss wall here to hold all of this dirt in. Actually, I'm going to pause here because I have some rocks that I think would look really cool on this. I'm going to tell the story of this pot a little bit. If there was a rock fall event on it, and that's the reason why it was broken, well, it didn't come from the wild like that, but this is the way it is now. This rock's pretty cool. Takes up the entire thing, which is kind of fun. I mean, that would be believable if that rock had fallen in there and broken it. So I'm going to go with that. This will also help to hold in a bunch of that soil. All right, let's get that watered, and then I'm going to go ahead and do the actual styling of it. All right, so that is watered, and now I'm going to do the actual styling. This moss is just kind of sitting there right now, but as it grows in the on the bonsai benches with everybody else, I'm going to have it in some really great environment from growing moss, and this will fill with great looking moss. Okay, normally I start with the lowest branches, and I am going to style this one kind of from up above, because I'm looking for an image that I can see from all angles that will look pretty cool. All right, there it is. There it is. It doesn't look like much right now, but this is going to be pretty cool when it leaves out quite a bit. And what would you say? Much more interesting than it was before, huh? I mean, what bonsai comes out of the bottom of a pot? And from this angle, quite a happy pot. I see a smile there.